Welcome to The Profile. I'm Gary Dunn. This is Peter Harries. And this is Spot.
Hello, Spot. Hello, Peter.
How you going there, Pete?
I missed the voice. I was supposed to say hello, Spot, and you were supposed to say hello, Peter. Sorry. How am I?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm pretty well, actually. Yeah.
Well, you're 83.
83, 2 weeks ago.
you look
August the 13th. I was born in Meckering. They had two things there, me and an earthquake.
1968.
Yeah, about 40 years apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, where were you born?
And Meckering, as I said, they had two things there. One was an earthquake.
I think it's Spot. He's just got me out.
That's okay.
And were you ever in an earthquake?
As a matter of fact, I was in the Meckering earthquake in 1941 at school.
I didn't know that.
And the school in Darren was on 7 feet pedestals, timbers about this big.
Yeah.
And it felt like a train had run underneath the building. But not that earthquake, a previous earthquake.
So, Pete, I've got to ask you, where were you? No. What was the moment in your life that, that made you decide what you were going to do, which has been a very long
When I was 4 years
history.
of age, my mother, who was theatrical and organised concerts and sang very well herself and knew lots of poetry, had me in a concert reciting a poem called The Green Eye of the Little Yellow God by J. Milton Keynes.
Wow.
There's a green-eyed yellow idol to the north of Kathmandu. There's a little marble cross below the town. There's a broken-hearted woman tends the grave of Mad Karoo, and the little god forever gazes down. Yeah. That's the start of it.
So, you learned piano age 10.
Yes, my father sent me off to the nuns at St Joseph Convent, Sister Cecilia. She had a round ruler up the sleeve of a gown.
Was that all?
They wore all the clobber in those days, the wimple and everything.
Yeah.
And if you made a mistake doing the scales,
Whack. So, at 13 you buy a guitar?
I bought a guitar from Nicholson's, who used to own 6PR and be in, old people remember, they were in...
They were in Hay Street.
Barrack Street,
Barrack
Barrack
Street,
Street,
yeah.
yes.
At 16 you played drums? And I'm saying this, 10 piano, 13 guitar, 16 drums.
A set of premier drums. The bass drum was about that high. There was one snare drum, a little tom-tom about so big, and 2 little cymbals, which my sons eventually smashed to pieces, or one of them did, many years later. £50 I paid for that drum kit and started playing
That's a lot
in
of
a
money in
band
those
with
days.
a lady called Mrs. Marsden. It was Mrs. Marsden's band, and her son played the violin.
That wasn't the lady who did the chalk and the teeth thing on TV, the Mrs. Marsden, to get...
No.
Mrs. Marsh.
This was considerably a long time before
that.
television.
Okay, no worries. You were a hit before electricity, I know that.
Yeah.
So, Mrs. Marsden band, who was in that band?
Well, her son, he played the violin.
Yeah.
Mrs. Marsden played the piano accordion.
Yeah.
I played the drums, and there was another delightful lady whose name eludes me that played the piano.
Okay.
I have a recording of it from a tape recorder I bought
That's Mrs. Pianist.
many years ago, and it was the most dreadful music.
So you started comparing and doing stand-up at the age of 19?
Yeah, the first one I really did was when I was in national service, and at the end of the 3 months when they had a march out, they had a concert, and I was the compere and required to present the ladies to the general's wife and all that sort of thing. That was the start of it.
Wow. And so at 21 you moved to Sydney, did talent quests?
Yes, I actually moved to Perth when I was 20. My father threw me out of home because I was keeping company with a married woman from Harvey.
Oh no.
And in those days, that was something.
Harvey beef.
I remember he said, always took his glass off and he said, "It has come to my notice that you are keeping company with a married woman from Harvey." I said, "Oh, Dad, that's just a moment." He said, "I haven't finished." He said, "You would do your mother and I the great service of disassociating yourself from this unsavoury liaison." Put his glasses, and for the first time when I was 20 years of age, I didn't just go off to my room. I stood there, and after about 3 weeks, it seemed to me, he took his glasses off again. He said, "Was there something else?" And I said, Dad, I'm very fond of this lady, and she's married, but she's separated. She married a fella and it was so bad she left him after 2 days and she's going to get divorced. Dad said, well, may this happen. And if such a fortunate circumstance should come about, we'll look at this in a different light.
Okay.
And I still stood there. And I said, well, I'm not going to stop seeing her, Dad.
And
he said nothing.
And this lady...
I came out to breakfast next morning and Mother was crying in the bacon and eggs. Father passed over the West Australian with a ring around something. I read it, Mrs. Briggs Boarding House, 3 Harvest Terrace, West Perth. He said, have your case packed, we'll get away about 9:30. I was in business with them.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so we went to Perth, so we saw the room up there near Parliament House. He pulled out £10, he gave it to Mrs. Briggs. She gave him £3.10 change. It was £3.05 a week for the bed and breakfast and dinner at night. He gave me the change, £3.10, only money I had in the world.
Wow.
And shook my hand and said, don't let it be too long before you contact your mother. You know, the women folk are strange about these things. What he didn't know was that this girl was shifting into a flat around on the corner of Havelock Street the same week.
Love it.
I've always been very lucky.
So, okay, at 24, Dad says, leave home.
Well, that was why. Yeah. I should have got you to read that bit before I started.
Okay. No worries.
At 21, I was in Perth. I got a... Matter of fact, the girl got me a job at the Sunday Times.
Okay.
And I was Boy Friday there and did the banking and the postages and the wages and all that sort of thing. And on Saturdays, I did sport. So I had a journalistic background as well.
Wow.
But when I turned 21, although I'd been promised the basic wage of £11.07 4 with a margin, I did the wages. The boss said, no, you can't have any margin. There's not another job in town for a clerk.
Yes.
So I told him that I was leaving and went to Sydney.
In 1958, you start something called Beer Garden Entertainment.
Well,
Tell me
I
about
was in
that.
Sydney for 3 years and knocking on doors everywhere and entering talent quests. 57, I did 12 months at the North Sydney Technical College of Television Studio Techniques. And
Is Spot all right? He's not bothering you there, is he?
pardon?
Spot. Is okay?
No, he's fine. He's quiet. He's calm. Aren't you, Spot?
Yeah.
Yes. And where was I? Oh, yeah, so I did that course, which came in very, very handy later on. But in 1958, my father wrote me a letter and asked me if I'd like to come home because one of the shops, Pinjarra and Waroon, there were 2 shops, was empty. And at that time I was 9 stone 4 in a dripping wet military overcoat. And the doctor at the Sydney Morning Herald had asked me a couple of weeks before, was there anywhere? I said, anywhere you could go, boy, to get away from all this business. You don't drink a lot, but you smoke and there's all these women and that sort of thing. Just at that time. So I told Dad I'll come home for 3 months and see how it goes.
Smoking women, huh?
So I've been home about 10 minutes and I was doing a comparing job for the Anglican Ladies Fashion Parade.
Yeah.
And then 2 seconds later, that's what happened with the hotel keeper in Pinjarra, Jack Baker his name was.
That's where I am now, in that area. It's
really?
Amazing. Yeah, I live in Yundrup on the Murray River. So.
Yeah, well, I've got a property at North Yundrup, 64 Colleenup Road.
All right.
Had it since 1969.
Just across the river there.
$11,000.
11,000. Gee, I only paid 7,400 for mine.
So I said to Jack Baker, excuse me, interrupting, but you asked me this a while ago.
Sorry.
I said to Jack Baker, they have music in beer gardens over in the eastern states. Oh, do they? I said, you've got a beautiful little area out there. So I talked him into that, and with a fella called Gordon Leenbroken, who was a school teacher, played excellent guitar. And Clem Wrightsey, who was Elder Smith and Company's representative, played piano accordion. Fridays and Saturday nights for the rest of November and December was music in the beer garden.
So is the beer garden still open?
No, it's still there. Yeah. Following year, I got the contract over in Mandurah for the Santoy Ballroom.
Tell me about the Santoy Ballroom, 1959 and 1964.
It's a beautiful ballroom, And they had midnight dances that started at 12 o'clock on a Sunday night. It was a Monday holiday.
Yeah.
And I did that for about 4 years.
Yeah.
What's happening?
5 years, I don't know. What are you doing, Mark?
Getting signals?
Nothing, no.
Am I taking
Nothing.
too long?
No, no.
We'll never get to the end, will
He's
we?
got up and he's walked off and he's now fiddling with something.
Yeah, so there we were at...
Scratching his nuts.
There we were at 40,000 feet. Nothing on the clock except the maker's name. That was in Latin. Where'd that come from? Did you say that? No, he didn't say that. So I did. I had the sound toy for those years.
Mm.
And then in 1965, I started doing folk singing in Perth.
Yeah. Was that when you were star spotted? Star spotted by an English producer, his name Jeff Stevenson?
Jeffrey Stevenson was a producer of That Was the Week That Was, the David Frost program.
Yeah. So he did it first and David Frost did it after? Or?
No, he was the producer.
Oh, I see.
David was like,
Yeah.
you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And did nearly as good a job as you were doing,
Okay.
by the way.
So I'm David
I've
Frost.
enjoyed Profile as it's gone along.
Good on you. And so Jeff Stevenson's more like
He saw what I
my
did.
producer Al? And,
Yes,
and I'm
indeed.
more like David Frost.
Yes, and he saw what I did, and he said, Ariel, just the chap I've been looking for. We're having this adult satirical program, and I need somebody to sing the political and social comment in parody. All be written for you. Ever done the acting? Yeah. Well, your face is just good, wonderful on television. You remind me of Peter Cook. I discovered him, you know. Be here next Thursday. 6 shows with an option of another 6. Right? I said, I'll get paid £10 a show. Only
Wow.
paid tax on £12 a week the year before. Any good. So
Unreal.
I started doing the rehearsals, and after a while he enjoyed a glass of red wine, as I did, and after a while I pleaded with him to give me a job as a cameraman or something, because I was a qualified cameraman.
Yeah.
Technical operator, floor manager, assistant producer, because of that thing that I'd done in Sydney.
We could
Oh
do
no,
it.
he said, I won't do that. No, your job's in front of the camera.
We could
So-
do with you here because we need a canteen manager, a car park attendant, masseuse. This whole
Here
pilot.
at what at Glowleaf.
Here at Profile.
Oh, ProCopy, is that where we are? So anyway, where was I?
I don't know.
No,
Where were you?
I'll get back to it. So he sent me a telegram on May the 17th, 1965. Phoned me immediately. I got in the car and drove up. I went in and said, what is it, Jeff? He said, how do you feel about children? I said, I never liked children. I hated children. I've got 2 boys, 3 and 4. You bring them to me freshly washed, Johnson's baby powdered, and clean pajamaed, and I'll kiss them goodbye. Night.
So you started a children's program.
And why? I said. And he said, because we've decided that we're going to have, from 3 o'clock till 6 o'clock, children's program, and you're going to be the host. I said, I'm not. He said, last week you said you'd be a cleaner.
You were the host.
Yeah, but I said, I'm not doing that, because I was worried about the Rolf Harris thing. You see, he 5 years before that, he was at Channel 7 doing children's programs. He had a beard and I had a beard. He played accordion, I played accordion. We were both Australian. But I must give him credit, because if there hadn't have been a Rolf Harris, there would never have been a Peter Harries. But anyway, he said, "Listen, it's too late. We're doing the pilot show Tuesday. You start full time on Monday morning, and get out there and work out what you're going to do." That's what happened. I
Wow.
was almost 30
that's
years
amazing.
of age.
I don't know what to say about Rolf Harris, so I'll just move on.
No,
But
no, well, move on. I've
Okay.
never met the gentleman.
Neither have I.
Yeah, move on.
Okay. So you took up folk singing.
I was a folk singer all my life, sort of thing. Yeah.
Says here you took up folk
Oh, you
singing.
have to speak to the producer about that. He's made a mistake.
I don't want to say anything about that.
No,
My-
I was still doing
I-
folk singing. I was still doing
I've got to
folk-
tell you,
Oh,
my
no,
producer puts in lots of
I
hard work.
withdraw what I said.
Thank you.
I was working with a fellow called Mervyn D'Souza, who is now Ian D'Souza, the
Yeah.
most prominent artist,
You changed his name
in-
from Mervyn to Ian?
yes, in Fremantle.
Okay.
A terrific fella. He started working at what used to be Alberto's Nightclub. It had
Yeah.
been bought by some Chinese interests, and they were calling it the Nanking. And he said to me one night while we were doing folk singing, "Oh, I've just got a new job at what used to be Alberto's." "Oh, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm still the manager. They're going to have entertainment. Why don't you come up and see the
Yeah.
guy?" And I said, I've never worked in a nightclub. He said, but it doesn't matter, you can tell jokes
Yeah,
and
you
you can
can.
talk to people.
Yeah.
I went there a Tuesday night, it was empty. A fellow called Peter Pacini had just started that week with a trio.
You're dropping some
And
names here.
Peter Pacini, yeah, lovely man. And as a consequence, I met Mr. Wong, and he said, what do you do?
What kind were they?
Pardon?
Nothing. There was an ad on TV.
Yeah.
I lost,
Oh, yeah,
Mr. Wong, I lost my traveller's checks. I don't know. What kind were they?
I've got a rude joke on about that, but I won't tell you.
Okay.
Mr. Wong said, what do you do? I said, what do I do? Oh, I tell jokes and I sing and I dance and I entertain people and I play the drums and the piano accordion and a bit of bugle and the guitar. I'm on television every day. I don't watch television. Oh, Mervyn said you're funny. You come next Sunday. You any good, we talk about it. You no good, you get chicken chow mein.
Chicken chow mein.
So on the Sunday night, I went there, but the next day, luckiest person in the world, 2 girls came around forming a social club at Channel 9. 5 shillings a week. I said, how soon are you going to do something? They said, as soon as we can. I said, what about next Sunday? What do you mean? I said, well, I'm doing this.
Opportunity
I'm doing
not.
this audition. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we'll go there. So on the Sunday night, there were about 8 people as customers and 65 people from Channel 9.
Wow.
And afterwards, Mr. Wong said, oh, I don't know why they laugh at you. They laugh at you. You come next Friday and Saturday. So I went on Friday and Saturday.
Saturday.
And after that he said, you come every night. You come every night. I said, I can't come every night. I have to have one night of the week off, and Thursday night I run the Shirley.
So 5 nights a week for 3 years?
5 nights a week. Wow. So he said, you'll get somebody else. I got Jeff Newman, who was a great mate of mine at that time at Channel 9. I got Jeff to do Monday night.
765 gigs.
And a very, very well-known radio man called John Fryer to do Thursday night.
I remember John Fryer.
Yeah, and I was there nearly 3 years, 5 nights a week.
Wow. You worked at Latender?
Then I went, yes. Vince Todaro came to me with an offer I couldn't refuse.
Did that include women?
Well, I insisted that Kelly Green, who was Peter Pacini's vocalist, accompany me to Latender, because I had the idea of forming a double act. And that eventuated, of course, when Vince and I parted company some 20 months later, and we spent 6 weeks. I wrote the shows and bought all the PA equipment and set out travelling around Australia. And of course, we'd already been to Vietnam in '68 with a concert party. And
so did Kelly Green go on that tour to Vietnam with you? Or?
Yes, she was on the first one, and the second one I was the producer and the manager and the compere, and it was a delightful one. The second one, 1971.
Did you ever go with Eddie Storm? Because Eddie Storm.
Eddie took concert parties on 2 alternate years.
Yeah.
Yeah, great fellow Eddie.
Yeah,
very
fantastic.
good friend of mine.
Yeah, I've interviewed Eddie, and very nice chap.
So we came back and we worked at Contatio Motor Hotel, which used to be on the beach at Scarborough.
Yes.
And the where else? Galaxy Nightclub was another famous nightclub in North Perth. Yeah. And we worked there till the beginning of 1972, when I bought into what had been La Riviera Nightclub on the foreshore at Como.
Okay. So talk to me about Frank Baden-Powell, Max Kay. What?
Well, when I opened the nightclub, I wanted to call it the club, the CLUB, and I went to the registration place, and the chap said, you can't call it a club, everything's a football club or a hockey club or whatever it is. But the night before, I'd said to my sons, draw me a club, please. And my sons, Jamie and Peter, both drew clubs. And Jamie's, I said, gee, Jamie, that's very medieval. And he said, yeah, Dad, it's a nightclub. You get it? A nightclub.
A K-N-I-G-H-T
club.
Yes. So Jamie came up with that?
Jamie came up with that. And when I went back the next day, I said to the guy, when I went in, I said, well, if I can't call it CLUB, can I call it KLUB? Oh, yeah, you can call it that. I said, well, make it the K-N-I-G-H-T, KLU nightclub. And then a few years later, I bought one of Frank Baden-Powell's operations at the end of Beaufort Street, which used to be the Civic Picture Theatre. And and it was called the Mexican Fiesta when I bought it, but it had been the Island Trader and various other things very successful, but the Mexican Trader had been bomb. And Frank rang me one day and he said,
"Come and help me."
He said, "You remember when you?" He said, "When you did that play for me in 1965, and I paid you £10 for 3 weeks rehearsal and 4 weeks performance, 4 nights a week, you were rather disappointed with me about the money, weren't you?" And I said, "Yes, I was, Frank." He said, "I'm going to make it up to you. You can have the Mexican Trader, lock, stock and barrel for $10,000.
Whoa.
Yeah, so I did. But I was in a competition with myself. I used to go there each night, welcome the people, but the next day the phone would ring. "Hey, we saw you at the door, but you weren't in the show. What's going on? You says Peter Harries Cabana Club, but you're not there." So I rang Max, and after a certain period of time, the following year it was, and I said, "Max, you always talked about having your own place," because for the first 18 months of the nightclub, he was my star turn in the floor show, Max.
We're trying to get Max on the show as well.
Yeah, and I took him to Vietnam with me as well.
Yeah.
So that is what transpired.
Yeah. So talk to me about your 2 sons, Jamie and Peter. Tuxedo Wave the Motors. I remember being in a competition at the Herdsman Hotel when we were all young, and I thought we were going to win it, and bugger me, they bloody won it.
People are going to wonder why I was waving my hand around with something in it.
Yeah.
I just regressed to when I started the nightclub.
Yeah.
And on a Sunday, I decided to have, from 6 o'clock till 10 o'clock, a smorgasbord and have rock bands.
Okay.
And this was unheard of, but it worked a treat. Amongst them were the Statesman and Orange, which was Rich Carson's band, Red Time from Melbourne with, what's his name, Burgess? What was his name, Jamie?
Ray Burgess.
Ray Burgess. New Image, New Occasion, Wayne Pride and The Trip, the Silver Platters, who were an older group of Dutch people, and Sweet Velvet, and various other, the best bands. We used to have them on a Sunday night. Yeah, $2 for as much as you could eat.
Wow.
Anyway, getting back to your question.
Tell me about Jamie and Peter.
Yeah, when Jamie was 15, he came to me one day because I'd bought the Bullseye Steakhouse by then, and the boys used to come over and help prepare things. I'll get rid of that, it's annoying me and everybody else.
No worries.
And he said to me one afternoon, "Can Peter and I learn guitar?" And I said, "Of course you can. There's 5 guitars at home." So I took them to Rod Christian the following Saturday. And I said that...
Was he at a piano accordion then? Or
pardon, did he have?
No, was he at... Where was he working?
He was working for Guy Barr.
Yeah, piano accordion.
And Sammy Pizzata.
Yeah.
They had the piano accordion shop. The drums, and then later they had the drum shop as well.
Yeah, that's right.
So, so I said, firstly, 3 months, you have to practice every day. And at the end of the 3 months, Jamie was, honestly, he was just a natural.
Yeah.
But Peter, and Jamie came to me because Peter was a reticent boy and Jamie wasn't. He was like me, outgoing.
Peter was much taller, wasn't he?
Oh, Peter was 6'3". My grandmother had a brother who was 6'1", so the genes crept down to...
Jamie was shorter and
Jamie was a little
stockier.
bit, yeah. But men are measured, the real men are measured from their ears upwards, always remember that. Yes, Gary. So Jamie came to me and he said, "Well, Pete would like to learn drums." And I said, "Well, that's fantastic. There's 5 drum kits there."
Yeah.
And I still had my drum kit. There weren't 5, but there were a couple. So Peter set out, and he turned out to be a naturally born drummer.
Yeah.
And he's over in New South Wales, and he teaches
still playing.
teaches in colleges, and he's in about 5 bands.
And Jamie's still playing as well, isn't he?
And Jamie still plays
He's
very
got a couple
much.
of bands because he sent me a message on Messenger because I live where I live. I think he was down in Mandurah somewhere, and
I went to the one in Mandurah.
yeah, I was working.
I hadn't seen
that night.
Jamie performing for some years, and I was absolutely astounded.
Yeah.
I was so proud of his ability and his maturity, and of course Jamie is very deeply involved with the born-again Christianity. Now I think that's something wonderful.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see him as one of the great stars of the world, and I think that he could have been. But he has chosen a life where he gives to other people
Good for
and
him.
people know that, and they approach him because they know that he doesn't know the meaning of the word no.
Yeah.
They're good boys.
And
Aren't they, Doggy?
it's so nice to help people,
Yeah.
and the feeling you get from obviously
Most
helping.
certainly.
So you've you sold the nightclub, KNIGHTKLUB,
Yeah.
right? 1988. But I believe, go back to 1981, you had a triple bypass and then a what do you call it, a quadruple bypass?
Yes, I had the triple,
Yeah.
which is the removing the vein from the leg and cutting into small lengths to go from the aorta
Yeah.
across to the main coronary arteries.
Wow.
Because they block up, so they put it to the correct side.
Was that bad lifestyle, you think? Pete?
I blame it on smoke. Other
Yeah.
people smoked for those 20 years that I'd inhaled everybody else's. I gave up smoking myself when I was 27 after 15 years. For no better reason, a fella bet me £5 I couldn't do it.
Mm.
He never paid me the money either. So if you're watching this, Charlie Brennan, you owed me £5.
He probably saved your life. So,
He did. So, but I had the triple bypass after 2 years of angina.
yeah.
And then a month after I had settled on the nightclub, I was way down south and had another heart. Well, I had very bad aorta pain, heart pain, and it meant having a triple bypass.
Wow.
And when I did that, I said to the surgeon, whose name is Farnsworth, I said I was making documentary films
You're
for
so good at remembering names.
American cable television. I was making these documentary films on Western Australia years before they started this travel thing. And we took them to the stations. Now, nobody's interested in travel films, they said. That's all changed 20 years later.
Absolutely.
But we persisted. We did one on Exmouth marlin fishing. We did one on Rottnest Island. I did one on the Gilt Dragon, the Dutch ship that was wrecked.
Yeah.
And then I said to Farnsworth, can I make a documentary film of this operation? He said, of course you can't. This is very serious.
So this is...
And I said, well, it's on the other one.
Yeah.
I said, I'm serious. And I talked him into it. And
So that's the video of it, is it?
Yes, on there is the whole documentary. I put that on there to sell to people up at 2J a couple of years ago.
How'd you go with that?
Selling it?
Yeah.
I sold a few.
Okay.
But the main thing is that it's been done, and I put it out there, and it was purchased by all the teaching hospitals in Australia, and for 3 years I worked with the National Heart Foundation, going to the interstate capitals for Heart Week and lecturing and showing the film and this and that. They got me back on the heart run a few weeks ago. Yeah.
Cool. And you've got one of the Vietnam veterans here as well, Strawny, if you want to cruise in on that. That was a mandatory concert in 2017. No, V Storm, I think.
Yes,
she was telling me about it. You sold out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you're thinking about doing another one? Because I know V's talking about it.
Oh, yes, there is talk about doing. We hopefully will continue along those lines.
Yeah.
So the triple and in '88, I had the quintuple. That's 5. Well, they came out of the left leg.
All right.
And then 10 years later, I had another triple. And by then they discovered they could use mammary arteries, because all men have the same arteries as ladies, and they found that they could cut those out but leave the source intact, which meant that you didn't have the prospect of a blockage on something that was sewn in.
Wow.
So by turning those down, it's like having a hose pipe that's permanently connected to the supply and can't block off. And that was 20 years ago. When I finished
you're still with us.
Yes.
And
the lovely surgeon, Mr. Newman, said, well, it probably lasts 8 or 10 years, and that was 20 years ago.
wow, good for
But
you.
I had a pacemaker last year. Oh, that's lovely. It really is. Good fun. I had prostate cancer too, and I had nuclear seeding.
Nuclear
So,
seeding.
you gentlemen watching this, if you haven't had the test, a very simple test for the doctor, and you're over the age of, say, about 40, you make sure you go and have a test.
can you tell me a little bit more about nuclear seeding?
Nuclear seeding, yes. When the doctor told me I was 72, and he said, "How long do you think you'll live?" This was the specialist. "Do you think you'll live another 5 or 6 years?" I said, "Oh, I'll only be 78. Won't I?" "Well," he said, "if you think so, perhaps we should do something. If you don't think you would, you probably die before the cancer the tumours get to you." There were 2 small tumours about that big, about 4 millimetres. And he said, "Well, you could leave it or you could have it removed, but that might mean wearing a napkin like a baby, a 50-50 chance of that, and bedroom antics would be at an end." Whatever that meant, I don't know what he meant by that. But he said, there's nuclear seeding. I said, "What's that?" He said, "Well, we put these little," well, I told you what they're called and I can't think now, nuclear charged pellets they are, and we put it in with a needle around the tumours and it eats them.
All right.
Oh, I said, "I'll have that." He said, "That's $20,000. But he said, "You get 10 back from the Medicare and the Hospital Benefits Fund," which I've been in since 1942, if you'd like to have me do an advertisement for you. And so I said, "I'll have that." So I had 132 pellets about the size of a half grain of rice.
Well, it was 10 grand.
Pardon?
That was 10 grand? The 132?
Yeah. But the result, that's 9 years ago. And here's the result. I'm still here talking to you.
How's the bedroom activity?
Pardon?
Yeah, I'm interested in how the bedroom activity is.
I'm only buying my condoms one at a time.
Are you? Because if I ever get nuclear pellets, I want to know what I'm in for.
I looked at it yesterday and it's perished. Can't help bad luck. You probably cut that. So
No, we don't cut anything.
I made that joke up to replace the green. Everybody's heard I'm not buying any green tomatoes, you know. They say, "How are you?" "I'm not buying any green tomatoes or bananas," whatever it might be.
Oh.
So I changed it.
Okay, so
Good dog.
What was the first single you bought?
First what?
Single.
Excuse me.
Yeah, can you remember that?
The first single.
I'm not talking about condoms anymore.
Well, there weren't any singles when I was a boy. Oh yes, it was. The first single I ever bought was.
What was the first 78 you ever bought? Sorry.
It was a Tex Morton record.
Yeah.
Of the Ned Kelly song.
Okay.
Ned Kelly was born in a ramshackle hut. He battled since he was a kid. He grew up with bad men and duffers and thieves and did all the things that they did.
That's great that you remember that.
And the first LP I bought was Benny Goodman.
All right.
Benny Goodman, Gene Krupa and Teddy Wilson.
Wow.
And that was in 1954 and it was a 10-inch.
I wasn't even born then. But
yeah. Speaking of Nicholson's, I worked there at one stage, cleaning up and all that sort of thing when I was about a young fella. And one day the lady behind the record counter, she asked me if I'd minded for a half an hour while she went out, and they did that sort of thing. And I was standing there and a lady came in and I said, "Can I help you?" Because in those days there were 12-inch LPs and 10-inch LPs and the other ones were the little one, the 45s were 7-inch, weren't they? Yeah, she came in and she said...
you only dream about that, don't you? 7-inch,
she came in and she said,
"Have you got, a long time ago.
Have you got careless hands on a 10-inch? Don't laugh. Don't laugh. And I said, "No, but I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts on a 7-inch. She said, "Is that a record?" I said, "It's not bad for a boy of 14. You can cut that."
No, you don't.
My son
We
says
can't
you can
cut anything. It's like, we don't have the budget.
Ah, well, there you go.
Okay. What was your favourite band of all time?
Oh, the favourite band of all time. Gee, that's a difficult question to ask.
Well, look, I can give you a choice of 4. You can phone a friend. You get 50-50.
I don't think I've ever had a favourite band.
No?
No, have I ever had a favourite band, James? Oh, Dr. Hook. Yeah, Dr. Hook. Oh, yeah, Dr. Hook.
Thank you, Jamie.
It was strange because I gave to your accomplice here, Phil, the technical gentleman,
Yep, Strawny.
a copy of the 1980 telethon song that I wrote and performed with Rod Christian and Jamie and Peter.
Wow, yep.
And it's called I Was Too Darn Young to Learn to Square Dance, Now I'm Too Old for Rock and Roll. That's the closest I ever came to being
Can
rock
you
and roll.
do a little bit of a rendition of that song for me?
Every time that someone invented a dance, well, that didn't appeal to me. They said, what you do now with your right and left shoe now is how it's gonna be. They did the quick step and the tango and the manango. That didn't bother me at all, because I was too darn young to learn to square dance. Now I'm too old for rock and roll.
Yeehaw!
There was a disco, calypso, country rock commercial, blues, folk, rock and roll song, and that's all. You've got the real thing that I hope you're going to show.
Mate, that's great. That really is great. You're such a character. So, if you were stranded on a deserted island,
Here we go.
and you knew you were going to be, what album would you take with you?
I would take the album. I would take. Oh, The Last Night at the Nightclub, 16th of January 1988.
Okay.
I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Marilyn Monroe?
Marilyn Monroe.
You're trying to outdo my producer with ties. Look, I've got Tweety Bird.
Tweety Bird, yes.
And still got the price tag of this one was $4.25. He actually excelled it. You got
The only
$4.
reason I wore a tie tonight was in deference to you, because on the profile you always look quite immaculate.
Oh, thank you so much.
And I even came in here with a lovely white tuxedo jacket.
And where's the tuxedo jacket?
Well, I put this on and I said to, what's his name over there?
Alan Simpson?
No, not Alan
No, Mark
Simpson.
Whitehouse.
I
Dr.
said
Welby.
Mark.
Oh,
And I
okay.
thought, oh, am I right? That's the worst part of being old. I said, I put this on to show the,
What's your microphone thing there?
oh yes, to show the back, because I bought this for $10 in Saigon in 1968.
That's what
Okay.
dogs do.
Have you got it read? You've
Yep. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Vietnam.
read it out.
Okay, it says, fighters by day, lovers by night, drunkards by choice.
Yeah.
Bien Hoa, Vietnam.
Bien
67.
Yeah.
Bien Hoa.
Yeah, 67 was 68, so I left it on.
Sorry about Spot, he's very naughty.
He's a
sometimes.
very
He's
nice
a dog. So what was your favourite TV show growing up? After TV came out?
There wasn't
obviously.
any TV
No,
when I
no, well,
was
after you hit 60 and
Dan
TV
and
came out.
Dave and Martin's Corner on the radio, wouldn't miss those for anything. But when
The
TV,
Goons, you
when
liked it?
TV started, Perry Como show, you wouldn't miss that.
I remember when I was living in Canada watching the Perry
Wouldn't
Como
miss
show.
the Perry Como show. I can't think.
Andy Williams show? Andy Williams show, did you ever see that one?
And yes, very good, very
Yeah,
good.
very good.
Love Andy. And
My
then
mum used to make me watch
around
that.
65, 66, the Dean Martin show.
Yep.
Yeah, it was good television. But when I was doing children's television, I had 50 or 60 children in the studio every afternoon at 4:45
Yeah.
for an hour's production, including on Wednesday TV, dentists who actually examined, filled and extracted teeth.
Well,
And he
my God.
was the head of the Perth Dental Hospital. And it was
Wouldn't have got me on that show.
it was wonderful. But years later, kids used to come up to me and say, the thing I remember most about the Channel 9ers Club was the
Getting
TV
my teeth taken out.
No, the TV dentist. And invariably they had good teeth. Because I was stood up and joined the fight to have fluoride in water.
Yeah.
And that made an enormous difference.
I
to
know
us.
someone who's actually campaigning to have fluoride taken out of water.
Did
It's
they?
like-
Well, they're crackers. I had a girl I used to take to a dance when I was very young, 21. And when her 21st birthday was
Something
coming,
wrong with their teeth.
her father said, what do you want for your birthday? She said, I want to have all my teeth out, Dad.
Why?
And she did.
Because Peter wanted me to?
No, because they were in such a state, she wanted to have false teeth because they'd be nice.
I thought you were leading into some sexual innuendo then. But
Innuendo?
Yes.
That's an Italian suppository.
Italian suppository. My producer's saying, wind it up. Look, do you have any unfulfilled ambitions, Peter?
Yes, I would like to be able to pilot an aeroplane.
Yep. What are you doing about that?
Nothing. It's too late.
Too late? You think so?
Yeah.
Do you collect anything?
Yes, I collect all sorts of things. I do. I am a hoarder. Yep. I had a 6-car garage which turned into a museum full of my collections. And then in 1995 I built another 6-car garage on the back of it. That was under the house, the first one.
Wow.
And now there are no cars in there because there's no roof because it's full of my collection.
So what sort of collections? What?
Militaria, everything.
Yep.
Everything's wonderful. I keep it. You know, sometimes you think, oh yes, I've got one of those. It's down in the shed. I'll go and get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you can talk about something for a while.
Yes. Yeah. I'd like to finish with, did you say this is just about finished?
Well, he's winding me up.
Yeah, okay,
well,
I'll wind it up. I'll finish, I'll leave you with, look, I must tell you first of all, last Thursday I was in Inaloo Shopping Centre and I saw a black Mercedes, the like of which I didn't imagine existed. Really beautiful.
Good, yeah.
And I walked around it and in the back window there was an embroidered scroll which said, "I miss South Africa."
Oh.
So I smashed his back window and I stole his laptop and I left little notes saying, "Feeling better now."
It's funny you should say that because we went to Bali, my wife and I went to Bali in January and met a South African couple, beautiful people, and we've kept in touch with them. And he just got robbed with his 2 young kids in the car and they want to move out now.
Dreadful.
It's happening
Well,
all
if we are finishing up, I'll leave you with one word.
Well, I've still got a couple more questions quickly. You know, he may run the show, but I've got control right now. So what would you put on your gravestone?
Be able to say, because I did, and not if only I had.
Because I did, if not only I had. Yep, that's good. That's original. I haven't heard
That's
that
original.
one before. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, is there something that we don't know about Peter Harries that you might want to reveal on the show? And there's no pressure for you to do so. Something you want to tell us that nobody knows? Or?
No, I've always... I'm a bit on the outgoing side.
No, I would never have guessed that, Pete.
I always have been, but when I was a child I was, and when I was a child I was shy. And I always had to be the centre of attention or stand in the corner.
Okay.
I could tell you that, yeah. But I could tell you that you are not going somewhere to do something, you are doing something to go somewhere. And that somewhere is the end of your earthly life. And this particular phase of your spiritual existence. Only for want of a different word, it is called death. Enjoy the journey and accept the destination. If you're not having a good time today or tonight, it may well be time to examine the inner self. That's my personal thoughts.
Wow, that is so profound. Well done.
There you go.
Look, what a guy. You know, thanks for watching the profile. Don't forget to subscribe to the profile. Please like our videos, comment and let us know what you think, especially about this guy. Who you think we should interview in the future. And look, www.theprofile.com.au. Peter Harries, you're an absolute legend. I've so much enjoyed having you here.
Thank you.
And Spot, you know, I must make mention of Spot.
I'll conclude by saying that I think you missed your vocation.
What was my vocation, you think?
Doing what you've done tonight.
Okay.
You have the art of the interviewer.
Okay.
I didn't make that up tonight. I've enjoyed your treatment of people, and you don't find as many as effusive than I am.
You've been wonderful.
But I can tell you it's all an act.
Yeah.
Because underneath it I'm just a very sad person.
Oh, no. Come on, don't cry, Pete, please.
I'll leave you with one word. Ubiquitous. Ubiquitous means everywhere, all over. And that's what this show is, all over. Good night.
Look, don't say goodnight yet, because I just want to make mention, I couldn't do this show without Alan Simpson, Mark Whitehouse, Phil Strawn. You know, they've been a huge part of it, and if it wasn't for them...
Delicious people.
Yes, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, delicious people.
Thank you for watching. Mr. Peter Harries...
Dr. Peter Harries.
Doctor.
You forgot to ask me how I came to get...
Can I just quickly ask you, how did you become a doctor?
Well, in
Here we go.
1995 I read in the paper, Curtin University, mature age students interested in history. I rang the number, an Irishman answered the phone. And I told him what I wanted, and he said, "Well, you got your TAA then?" I said, "Pardon? Have you got your TAA then?" I said, "I don't know anything about the university." What TAA, tertiary entrance examination? I said, "No, I left school when I was 15. Well, first you go to the TAFE, and then you get your TAA, and then you go to nothing lost." I said, "Worth 25 cents to hear the voice from the sainted isle." He said, "What do you mean by that then?" I said, "I've just been in Ireland looking for my ancestors." "Huh, whereabouts?" I said, "Cork." "I'm from Cork," he said. "Whereabouts?" I said, "A little place called Glengarriff." "But," he said, "that's where I come from. What are you looking for?" I said, "Primarily my great-grandmother, Julia Lane Murphy." "Murphy! I'm a Murphy, you're a Murphy then." I said, "No, my name's Peter Harries." And he said, Peter Harries. "You're not the fella who used to have that nightclub down there at Tacoma." I said, "That's me." He said, "I got drinking there one night and I proposed marriage to a school teacher and she became my wife, and the first thing she made me do, the first thing was go to technical college, and I did that, and here I am today. I'm the associate professor of history at the university. Come and see me."
So you got in?
I got in the car, drove straight over there. 5 minutes later, I was a university student.
Just like that?
Yeah. He said, what are you going to do? And I said, "Oh, history," like I said. No, he said, "You got to do other things as well. Do anthropology, that's the history of mankind." He said, "Have you got $1,000? I said, "What for?" He said, "Well, you got to pay to come here. Extension students, $500 a unit." Well, after 2 weeks, because I'm very quick, I realised if you don't do 4 units a semester, it takes 6 years to get a Bachelor of Arts degree. So I paid another $1,000. I took sociology and geography.
Wow.
And in 2.5 years, I had a Bachelor of Arts degree with distinction in social sciences.
Dr. Peter Harries, I thank you for being on the show.
Much. That's all right. You've been very patient.
I'm like a doctor, I've got lots of patience.
That's what I meant, you
Yes.
see.
Thank you for watching the show again.
God, you've got to explain everything to these people.
We'll see you next week. Thank you.
Hooroo.
God, I'm done.
I'd like to sing a song about the art of dancing and how it affected me. When the music makes the people start posing and prancing, I think of how it used to be. They did the quick step and the tango and the waltz and the fandango. That never bothered me at all. But I was too darn young to learn to square dance. Now I'm too old for rock and roll. Every time that someone invented a dance, it didn't appeal to me. They said what you do now with the right and left shoe now is how it's gonna be. I never fitted into a dancing pattern or nothing that I can recall, 'cause I was too darn young to learn to square dance. Now I'm too old for rock and roll. Every teacher taught his children about the golden rule. While the world was jitterbugging, some fat girl was slugging me around the quad at the primary school. Alley man left, sashay your partner. and promenade home was the call. But I was too darn young to learn the square dance. Now I'm too old for rock and roll. The 50s went by, I didn't learn how to jive. In the 60s didn't twist and shout. My mojo wasn't working and my go-go wasn't lurking, and I didn't let it all hang out. I didn't shake, didn't shove, didn't monkey, didn't fright. My disco was the worst of all, 'cause I was too darn young to learn the square dance. Now I'm too old for rock and roll. That was a disco, calypso, country rock commercial, blues, folk, rock and roll song, and that's all.
At ProCopy, we can transfer audio to CD, make CD, DVD and Blu-ray copies, transfer video to DVD, Blu-ray or HD, digitise slides and photos and supply custom USBs. You can see more details at procopy.com.au or call us on 08 9375 3902 for more information.